you guys. Okay, so this is a video that I've been putting off for quite some time because number one, I wasn't 1000% sure I was ever gonna post it. Number two, I just wanted to wait for the right time, which I don't think there ever is a right time. First of all, I'm wearing this little jacket because I figured if I'm talking about business, gotta look business, even though I don't really look business and I have sweatpants on and slippers, so try to take me seriously. But I have a little story time for you / life update. Yesterday on my Instagram at Tay Terrell, if you don't follow me already. I have so much anxiety. Okay, I told you guys that I have a big life secret that I've been hiding from you, and I asked you guys to guess. Literally 90% of you already know what it is. We are selling the coffee trailer. Oh my gosh, I just have anxiety talking about this right now. Okay, number one, disclaimer, I would just ask you guys to be supportive and nice. Don't say anything mean. I'm gonna explain the decision behind all of this and kind of everything that's going on because it was a very emotional decision originally, and now I'm really excited about it. Mostly it's kind of bittersweet still until we actually find a home for it, because obviously I want to make sure it goes to somewhere great and someone that's going to appreciate it, which I'm sure they will if they're paying what they have to pay to get it. Let's just rewind. A lot of you guys are on here because you've been watching my journey with the coffee trailer, and I have wanted to do this like my whole life. I wanted a coffee shop. Just a little bit of backstory if you haven't been following my whole journey or if you're newer here. I always wanted a coffee business because my first job was being a barista when I was 16. I've been doing it ever since until about last year, I guess, when I opened my business. My goal was always to open a coffee shop. And for me, I was a young girl working like part-time jobs. I started going to college for business, and then I realized I don't actually need a business degree. I already know a lot about the coffee industry, and I have good mentors who can coach me and help me, one of them being my dad, actually the main one being my dad. He's a CFO for a very successful company. He knows finances very well. That's obviously a huge part of business. So he helped me a lot with like my business plan, all that kind of stuff. I ended up dropping out of college to open this coffee trailer. It ended up being this, I'm really like downplaying it here. It was a huge deal in my life. If you guys have known me for years or have been following me for years, you know all the things we kept coming across. There was just tons of obstacles. It took me 4 years to actually get it open. Went through multiple people trying to find someone to build it. I ended up doing the coffee trailer because the coffee shop is just obviously more risk. It's more money involved up front, bigger investment, bigger risk, obviously. Bigger investment, bigger risk. Could have been great, but I wanted to prove myself first and also make sure I really liked this industry. Thank God I did that. And so I did a coffee trailer because it's cheaper to start. It's still quite a lot of money, which now that I'm selling, I'm gonna be way more open with you guys about like the process of everything, because when you're in business, obviously you want to keep a certain degree of things private. It was a very expensive business, and it did well considering I only did it part-time. That's not the reason I'm selling it at all. It was not because the business didn't do well. It's more so just a change in my heart and things that I want in life. And so anyway, it took me years to open it, and it was a very big deal. And I would suggest you guys going back to watching my playlist of Salted Road Coffee. Just go watch all those videos because there's tons of videos like leading up to everything, actually getting the trailer, and I was super excited and all the things. And for me, the switch started to happen where I was like really passionate about this thing. And I actually this is something I actually for the first time just told somebody today, but I never really told anyone this. I was super passionate about it and really excited, and passion really drives momentum and drives you going for things, because people would always be like, how do you work so hard? And I'm like, well, I'm really passionate about this thing. And when things got hard, that's what kind of kept me going through. And then when I was close to actually getting the trailer, I remember being like, I don't really know if I want to do this anymore. But I was too deep into it to change my mind, and I never told anyone that. And so I also thought, I'm not like a big, I mean, I can be emotional, depends on what I'm talking about. Usually I'm emotional for like people I love, not like things. But I remember being like, okay, logical, not emotional. I'm just being, you know, it's just a hard week or whatever. This is business. I gotta just like work through it. Sometimes you have hard days, you have hard months, and it's just part of the process. And so I didn't take that too seriously, that I was kind of like doubting it at first. I actually get the trailer. It's like a huge deal. It's the first one in our county to be opened of its kind. And it took a lot of, they actually had to like change some codes and laws for our health department to allow us to pass. And so it was really exciting, and we had a lot of people in the community supporting me, and that was the biggest part of me feeling like I was gonna let people down by selling it. I started operating the trailer, so it's March, wow, it's March of 2020. So I started operating in like, crap, I don't even know, March or April of 2019, and it was super, super exciting in the beginning, but having a coffee trailer is a lot more work than you might think, and I actually knew that. I had had people warn me, and people that I knew did it were like, oh, it's so much work, da 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 da, you know? And I'm like, it's okay, I'm passionate about it, da 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 da. And then it just was like, the more I did it, the less excited I felt about it. And I know how to work hard, but it was just a different type of working hard. And I remember when sorry, I'm jumping around here, I just have no notes, I'm just trying to spill the beans. But when I ended up telling my dad about me thinking about selling the business, which I literally cried in public, by the way, which I never do. And we were at like a burger place, and I was like, I'm thinking about selling the trailer. And then I just like started crying because I felt like I was gonna disappoint him, and he didn't care. I mean, he cared, but he supported me, and that was like the best thing ever. But what was my point about saying that? What was I gonna say? Oh, I remember telling him just like part of the realization I had, which is like common sense now that I'm out of it, or I guess everyone would be like, well, duh, that's what happens when you own a business. But sometimes you just need to learn things for yourself, and you need to go through those processes and try things out just to kind of see what you like. And I'm a big advocate for that still, is if you're passionate about something, go for it. And if your passions change, that's okay. If your dreams change, that's okay. You can move on to the next thing. And that's a huge like growth thing I've had to go through the past 6 months. But I told my dad I opened this business. I mean, originally like 5 years ago, I wanted to open this business because I loved making coffee and I loved connecting with people over coffee. And then when you own a business, you don't really make coffee. You have employees who make coffee. And you're the one that's like, you know, bringing the paperwork to the bookkeeper and communicating with the CPA and communicating with all the clients that want to book you and answering questions and emails and phone calls and paperwork. And I'm like, I didn't sign up for paperwork, which technically I did because I ended up being a business owner, but that's not what I love. And so I ended up just being like, man, I started this business to make coffee, and I don't even make coffee. I don't even like barely drink it anymore because I was like never in the trailer. And I would like drop off the girls, and like I love my employees, which that's part of the best part about this business, was I got really close to the girls that I hired and consider them like good friends now to this day. But yeah, it was just, it was a lot. It's really hard to like process, I guess, like what I've been feeling the past 6 months, because it's been a lot. But I'm trying to figure out, there's still some things I can't share, but Garrett and I just have different plans, I guess, for our future now. And there's some different things we want to try, and some different career kind of things we want to try, different things that I'm interested in. And I didn't tell anyone for a while that I wasn't feeling that excited about the trailer anymore. And I think people could tell because I was just not posting about it as much. And especially this winter, we did less events in the winter because it sucks when it's freezing outside. It's not like we live in California or anything. So we're in Washington State, if you don't know. And there's worse winters, of course, like the Midwest. But here it's still freezing, there's ice, it's cold, it's raining. And we operated a little bit during the rain, but it really just like kills business. So you would think it'd be the other way around, but like it's really hard. It gets slower just in the winter in every business that I've ever worked anyway, but especially with the trailer because people can't actually drive up to it. And so I was just operating for, you know, some like private events and stuff like that, which are really awesome. My favorite were private events because you're paid up front and like you're guaranteed to get paid. You know, it's gonna be worth your time and people are really excited about you being there. But other times you could be gambling with an event. You don't know if it's gonna be worth it or not. And granted, it was our first year. And so I knew second year around things would get better. And so at first I was trying to talk myself out of it. And I'm like, I'm just having a hard time. This is just business. I'm gonna work through it basically. And I know I'm just jumping around a lot, but I was trying to convince myself I was just having a hard week and that this is just business and I'm gonna stick it out, you know? Then I got straight with myself. I got really honest with myself. Garrett and I had a lot of conversations just about things we wanna try. And the common denominator was things we wanted to do, we couldn't do because I had the trailer. And because I already have this really big investment, we're not negative at all. Everything's paid in cash on the trailer. So that's really great that we don't have any loans out or anything on it. But it was just kind of holding us back from other things we wanted to do. And I was weighing the pros and cons, and I'm like, man, if we sold the trailer, we could do this, 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 and this, and this, which we will have more updates to come on what all that stuff is. But this year is gonna be very exciting. Just a lot of changes. I was like, we could do all these other things, and if I keep the trailer, I keep the trailer, but I'm not that happy doing it, you know? And I started to feel really guilty about that. I remember like, I've just had a lot of just emotional things, I guess, this past year, like a lot of growth internally and just in my mind. And it's been really tough. I'm gonna be honest with you guys, which you guys have probably been able to tell. I gained a lot of weight, which part of that was my you know, birth control, TMI, sorry, but I ended up getting off of that, which a lot of you keep asking me about that, and I'll talk about that later. But a lot of it was just dealing with this like mental stress of the business and like trying to figure out what I want to do. Am I just in a hard space, or is this something that I'm not passionate about anymore, and should I move on? And I wasn't able to like tell the world about that, because I'm like, how unprofessional of me to like tell the world that I'm not passionate about my business that I'm like supposed to be so excited about. And I would feel so guilty when people would come to the trailer and be like, this is so amazing, I'm so proud of you. And I was like, oh, thank you, yeah, it's so awesome. And then I would like turn to my employees, and they know me really well, and I was like, they like knew that I was having a really hard time with it. And it was very like mentally exhausting because my heart wasn't in it anymore, which was a really hard place to come to. It was even hard for me to tell them that, because originally, literally 6 months ago, I thought I still wanted to open up a coffee shop or franchise or do more trailers. Like I really had plans to make this big. And then I got straight with myself, and I had this like breakdown moment one time in my car when I was driving, and I was like, I'm like not happy. And why am I still doing this? And I realized the only reason I'm still doing it is because I'm way too freaking prideful. And I was like, people are gonna be like, oh, she couldn't make it work. She wasn't successful in the business, so she had to sell. She's not a hard enough worker, which no one's ever said any of that stuff to me. And I guarantee some people probably will in this post, which whatever. Hate is gonna hate. I still get a view on the video, so whatever. But I was just saying all these like lies in my head, I suppose, of like what I assumed people would think about me if I quit the business or sold the business or whatever. And I wanted to keep it just to prove I'm wrong. No, I can make this work. I can make this big. I am a hard worker. But I'm like, screw that. Honestly, screw that. If you, like, I am just a big believer that if you don't love what you're doing the wrong thing. And I loved, I'm pointing over here because the trailer is like outside right there. But I'm like, I loved the trailer for a good chunk of time. And it was my baby, it was my thing, it was like my identity, which I know your identity should be in God, but like literally people don't know what to talk to me about besides the trailer, which is gonna be funny to see now. They're gonna be like, Taylor, what are you doing with your life? Normally people are like, Taylor, how's the trailer? Da, 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 da. And honestly, sometimes I get sick of that. Like I'm like, God, if only you knew I didn't like it anymore. Like I don't want to do it anymore. Sorry, that sounds so negative. It's not that I didn't like it anymore. I just didn't love it. It wasn't my passion. And I think life is too short to not like chase your passions. But it was my thing for a long time. And I think just by the time I opened it, it wasn't, I realized I wasn't passionate about it anymore, and that's okay. And that was like a really big thing for me to go through. And once I told my family, of course, like the only opinions I really care about is my family and my dad. Like obviously my family, but my dad has invested so much of his time into the trailer. I've never paid him for anything. Well, I paid him for a little bit of stuff that he's helped with, but like he's just volunteered his time because he's a good dad, and he's helped me with a lot. And he's helped me with like my finances and figuring out, like I didn't know how to run a business. I dropped out of college, and he's helped me figure all this stuff out. And so I really cared about his opinion. And when I told him, he totally supported it. And he was like, Taylor, I only supported the trailer because it's what you were doing, not because it was the trailer. And he's like, whatever you do next, I'll support that too. And I was like, ah, yay. That was just like the best feeling in the world. Cause I mean, don't forget, I was crying at a burger joint in Olympia, Washington. But it was just like a huge moment because I was like, okay, my family supports me. And it just felt really like liberating to feel like it's okay to change your mind and to change your dreams and to change your goals. And I don't want to regret, like, if I felt like I was being led in a different direction, to just hold on because I'm too prideful, I guess. And so yeah, so we're selling the trailer, and I'm gonna put like the link to the listing down below if you guys know anyone in the Olympia area that's interested. And I know it's not a child, but the way that I view it kind of is like, this is like my baby. I put so much of my heart, my money, my time into this thing, like my first years of my 20s. I mean, from the point I was like 20 to the point I was 24, I was working on this thing. Instead of hanging out with friends, I didn't go out to drink. I was at home in my room planning this business, like working my butt off for it. And so I went through this period where I was like, man, that was wasted time, but it wasn't. I learned a lot, and I also realized that I can do whatever the heck I want to do, and when things seem impossible, they're actually not. Because literally when I was going to open this trailer, people told me it wasn't gonna work because I dropped out of college. People told me it wasn't gonna work because there was nothing like this in our county. People told me it wasn't gonna work because the health officials said it wasn't gonna work. And it worked, and it's open, and it's running, and I'm very proud of that. But I'm also ready to like move on and let someone else have that dream, I guess. And I felt very guilty holding on to something that I wasn't passionate about when this could be that thing for somebody else that like fulfills their dream, which has already been a really cool, like, I was really nervous to tell the world about it yesterday. I just posted it for the first time like on my Facebook, and now will be the first time on my public world, the Instagram and YouTube's world. And it's kind of scary because I feel like I'm gonna get some backlash, but more than anything, it's been really exciting to see how this could be an answer to prayer to somebody else's dream, I suppose. Like if they didn't have time or didn't know how to open a trailer from scratch, like we built this thing from ideas on a paper, and now it's real and it's here and it's approved in the state and it's ready to go, turnkey operation, and somebody could just buy it and start their business like next week. So yeah, there's a lot of exciting things to come, and I still have like some anxiety about it because there's a little bit of unknowns. I don't really know what the future holds, but I know it's gonna be good because I know that I'm not called to do this anymore and I'm called to do something else. And I want to always live my best example for you guys because so many of you guys like follow my journey, and I trust God enough to know if I'm not called in this direction, it's going to be something better and this is going to bless somebody else. And so yeah, it's a little bittersweet to see it go, but yeah, we're still waiting for a buyer. But yeah, there's exciting things coming, and I will be probably more open about the business now. Once it's not mine anymore, I will open up about a lot more of like the behind the scenes things that I haven't answered yet until this point. So anyway, thank you. Hopefully that answered your guys' questions. I know some of you will be really sad because I know a lot of people wanted to come see the trailer, but hopefully it'll go to somebody that's from our area and you can still come visit it whenever it's the new business. And yeah, that'd be really cool. So thanks for watching, and if you're not already following me on Instagram, go follow me at @TayTerrell to keep up with all the updates and all the things. You can go follow Salted Road Coffee if you want. Also, I'm gonna keep that Instagram page open and everything, so all the memories will still be there. But yeah, on to bigger and better things. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!